I will go and cue this one up here. And just as I did that series on kind of the less photographed lines in St. Paul, I'm going to do a round in Minneapolis. And this is going to be somewhat arbitrary, but we'll start in northeast Minneapolis with the Monroe and the Northwest Terminal line. Actually, the Monroe is fairly well photographed. I just haven't ever done a magazine article on it or anything. And Northwest Terminal was kind of weird and obscure. So here we go. First Monroe. And this map is actually a little bit in error. This is from Twin Cities by Trolley. This actually shows the route of it before 1942. And in 1942, it was moved over. Here it's going through downtown on 2nd Avenue South and taking the 3rd Avenue Bridge. In 1942, they moved it over to Marquette, to First Street, to Hennepin. So all the photos you're going to see are going to be over that newer route. And one of the things, this started as a horse car line in 1882, and it went across the Hennepin Bridge. There wasn't a 3rd Avenue Bridge at the time, to Central, to 7th Street, which then turned into Monroe. And then until 1891, the horse car went up Monroe to 19th Avenue and over to Central and up Central to Lowry. And in 1891, the new Central Avenue line was open not only from there, but all the way up to, I want to say, 40th Avenue or 37th Avenue in Columbia Heights. Whoops, there it goes doing that thing again. And so the horse car was replaced. And of course, it was replaced by streetcar, which then diverted over on Broadway to Washington Street Northeast, not Washington Avenue, Washington Street. And there it ended until 1923 when it went up further. Now, you'll notice that from 22nd Avenue up to 27th Avenue is 1931, which is very late. And that was because 1931 was when they completed the grade separation of the combined Northern Pacific and Great Northern that ran across Washington at an angle. You go up on there and it says 1931 on the bridge. And that allowed them to extend it up to 27th, which was right next to Shoreham Yards. So, on to the photos. So here we are at, I want to say, about 11th and Marquette. And this is passing the Sheridan Hotel, which doesn't exist anymore, but I kind of like it. This is one of the Norman Rolfe photos. And he came into town in the late 40s, and he just took a whole bunch of kind of really good street scenes. So here we are further down. We're at 5th Street. You can see down at 6th Street Farmers and Mechanics Bank. Here it's crossing the Interurban and the Plymouth East 25th. And this was the Federal Reserve, and it later became, I guess, Sheik's, if I recall correctly. Okay, and now we're further down. We're at 1st Street. Pioneer Square is off to the left, and it's about to turn onto 1st Street. You can see Grand Monroe, and it was paired with Grand Avenue. And they did use the lightweights on this line as well, because it was a little bit lighter line. This is turning from Hennepin Avenue onto 1st Street to make the 1-block jog over to Marquette. And here, running with PCCs later, and you can see it is pulled up in front of the Great Northern Depot on the safety island that they had there. Here's looking the other way at the safety island, of course, the Grain Belt beer sign and the Great Northern Depot. It is just, now I love this photo. This is one of the newspaper photos, and this, of course, is the bridge over the main channel of the Mississippi with Nicollet Island in the distance. And what this one shows, and no other photo we have shows it, is this little jog. And I think the reason for that is when they replaced the suspension bridge, there were 2 suspension bridges, first a wood one and then kind of a stone pillared suspension bridge. And I don't know what year it was, but they replaced it with this. And I think they built one next to the other, and therefore they had to go and put a little jog in Hennepin Avenue in order to accommodate that. And in later years, if you went across this bridge, it was one of a couple of bridges. I know the Lowry Bridge and the Broadway Bridge also had they had a steel open grid deck, and your car would kind of shimmy around on the steel, and it would make a whole lot of noise. And of course, when you walked on it, you could look down and see the river.
Motorcyclists always hated that bridge.
I'll bet you. So here we are on Nicollet Island. This happens to be a Como Harriet car, but that they shared the tracks with. But you can see, veteran salvage. There was a whole bunch of kind of interesting little businesses on Nicollet Island. And here's another view looking the other way. Here we are crossing the east channel of Nicollet Island. Here's Island Cycle Supply. I know they moved over on Washington Avenue. I don't think they're around anymore. I don't know. And you could get vulcanizing supplies if you had any vulcanizing you had to do at home. And then it went into Old St. Anthony. This is the corner of East Hennepin and 2nd. This is actually a pull-in car to East Side Station, but it gives you kind of an interesting look at some of these buildings. You can see the Great Northern Depot way in the distance. And so after it got to Central, this is an Ed Nelson photo, and he's piloting a PCC car. And he has just turned onto, he's on the Central Avenue line, he's just turned onto Central. And this is actually a Monroe car because it was paired with Nicollet in the last 2 years. The Grand Avenue quit in 52, but Monroe continued to 54. So for those last 2 years, it was paired with Nicollet. Then, of course, you've seen this photo from Twin Cities by Trolley, and this shows the intersection of Central and 7th Street Northeast, which is where the Monroe line took off. And I've just always loved this photo because of the detail it shows of the tracks and the wires.
That's where we used to live.
Yeah.
This is that same location, and somebody is up in, I think, the electric machinery building. I know Walt Strobel worked there. But I don't think he took this. But anyway, obviously, a PCC car has lost its pole completely and is stalled right here on that same location. Here you can see they're going to go up and cross the Great Northern Tracks. You can see the Great Northern Tracks down here. Now, here's a streetcar. It's on Monroe, and it's climbing up the ramp on the north side of the Great Northern Tracks. And even though the line was named Monroe, obviously the majority of it wound up on Washington Street. And my reason for bringing this map up again is when you get up to Broadway and Monroe, from there over to 13th and Washington, it shared the track starting in 1914 with the Broadway crosstown.
And Monroe is just too.
And so this is the corner of Monroe and Broadway. And you're looking east on Broadway. The car has just turned the corner from Monroe. And this is, I'm sorry, this car hasn't turned the corner. This is actually a Broadway car, which started 2 blocks east of here in front of the public schools building. And this is Logan Park off to the left.
Yeah. Jim and I lived 2 blocks from that picture.
Wow. Well, we've got a couple of views here. These were taken by Bill Olson. And so he turned around, and here's the Grand Monroe car, followed by the Broadway car eastbound with Logan Park. Yeah. Okay. And then this is a companion to that. Here, the Grand Monroe car is turning the corner onto Monroe, and then you see the Broadway car behind it. Now, this is early. This is, it's 1915. And this is the end of the line at 17th and Washington, and it was the end of the line until 1923. And I think part of the reason they stopped was that there was a Northern Pacific Railroad grade crossing at 18th, but you'll see that in just a minute. And I think what happened here, the line was built out here in 1891, but this looks like they're paving the street finally. And you can see they've got the snap track, the temporary track that they're laying down while they're starting to put in the permanent track.
Those ties are amazing to look at.
Yeah, aren't they?
Yeah.
So anyway, here's that same corner, 17th. And then you can see Washington comes up and made a jog and crossed what the Northern Pacific, what they call the Mulberry Line, kind of a little crosstown switching line, um, to connect the A line, which was over on the west, with the B line, which was just out of the camera to the right. And so this extension went in 1923, up until they ran into the next grade crossing, which they couldn't get across until 31. And so we got a couple of photos. Because the streetcar company was in here after the railroad, they had to maintain the crossing. So clearly, they're doing that, and they're detouring with temporary track over one track at a time. They're fixing it up. So that's looking south. Here's the crossing when it was not under construction.
Aaron, do you have any idea about how smooth the transition would be going from the regular trackage onto the shoe fly over that temporary crossover?
Well, I think they had to take it real easy, because, you can see it is flush, but then there's a bump up, and then there's a second bump up to get to the switch. So they're kind of going up one at a time, and I'm sure they didn't want lateral motion to push this thing out of the way, so they must have really taken their time going through it. I'm just surmising.
I remember the car kind of rising up rather sharply when it would climb up on those crossovers.
Bill, I think you're the only one with memories of it. So anyway, and here's one other view. This is from that construction album at the Minnesota Historical Society that followed all these grade separations through Northeast. And here you're looking at this is the Northern Pacific, I'm sorry, this is the Great Northern coming in from Minneapolis Junction, where it comes in alongside the B line of the Northern Pacific, the bypass downtown. And this is the Mulberry Line taking off. So you're looking west down 18th Avenue. And here down at Monroe, you can see a streetcar that has just crossed. And this is 1924. So this is a year after this track extension. And here's the Northwest Casket Company, which is now full of artists. They're not dead artists. So anyway, here's the 1931 bridge. We have a couple of not very good snapshots of it. But this is what was done in 1931, which made it possible to extend the line north of here up to 27th Avenue. Here you see the streetcar climbing away. And the deal was always here, the street went down 1/3 and the tracks went up 2/3. That was the standard formula. So you got up to, very conveniently in the photo, 27th and Washington. And here you have the Y. The streetcar has gone forward and is backed into the layover position and is ready to leave. And this is hard up against the Sioux Line Shoreham Yards. Here you can see the Riverside Power Plant in the distance. And so I'm guessing that there's a gate here. I guess they could have brought workers here. However, the Central Avenue line went right past Shoreham, right past the Roundhouse. And so I'm guessing that this didn't get used much. And here we have a color photo at the same place. Now the Northwest Terminal line opened in 1920. It's this extension out East Hennepin and then up Stinson Boulevard, including on private right-of-way in the median. And it was to serve the Northwest Terminal, which you'll see in a moment, which was a big complex, still exists. And it was essentially a multi-use industrial, multi-tenant industrial building. And it actually started, you'll notice it says 1920, and this says 1921. And so because they got this part done first, for the first year, they ran it down 8th Street Southeast and up 10th Avenue and Johnson on the Johnson line to get here. And then afterwards, the holdup was constructing the underpass for the Great Northern Railroad. So here is Lightweight 2003 in downtown running on the Northwest Terminal line. It's always interesting just to see a picture of this car. And this is actually after, originally it was a powered trailer. not designed to run by itself, as part of the two-car train of 2002-2003, which was the second experimental lightweight train. And what they did is they put it back in the shop, and they gave it motorman controls, and so now it could run either together or separately. So this was the holdup. This is the underpass on East Hennepin, under the Great Northern, just southeast of Minneapolis Junction. And this is after abandonment. The Northwest Terminal line was one of the earlier abandonments, 1948, and it was replaced with buses. And so this is, you're on East Hennepin looking east, and this is the Northern Pacific B line. And what you have to kind of squint here is to see the covered up tracks are turning left onto Stinson. Now this photo's been run before. There's 2003 again. But this is the Northwest Terminal stretching along the east side of Stinson, all the way from East Hennepin, all the way up to Broadway, almost Broadway. And these buildings are still here. And so the cars went up and then entered this median. And we have a couple pictures up here at the Y. Here the car has pulled across and is backing into the Y on Broadway. And here it's completed the Y. This is the Cream of Wheat building here. I'll go back to it. This is the Cream of Wheat building here, which is now condos, but it's kind of a very nice industrial building. And here's a car sitting here at Broadway. This is the Honeywell plant, Honeywell Broadway. Now that's the last picture I have. The Northwest Terminal line was kind of mysterious because it was almost entirely industry. And I heard from somebody, but I can't document it, that towards the end it only had rush hour service, which would have made it the only line in the system to only have rush hour service. However, we have in our collection a bus schedule from the year after this was abandoned, a 1949 bus schedule where it was rerouted with Kenwood, and it has full 7-day-a-week service every 15 minutes, weekday through Saturday, and every 20 minutes on Sunday. Having said that, there's a note in Electric Railways of Minnesota that in 1932, it lost its Sunday service as a streetcar. So it's a little mysterious as to exactly how this thing ran. It couldn't have carried very many people. And oh, there we go. I guess I did have one more picture of it. And that's the end of this one.